Stop for a second, something unusual is unfolding behind the silence you have been feeling lately. There is a reason certain moments have felt heavier than before. A reason some conversations never fully happened. A reason your heart keeps sensing movement even when nothing visible has changed yet. Because somewhere, far beyond what you can currently see, your soulmate is standing in front of a decision so important that it is quietly reshaping both of your futures at the same time. And no, this is not a small emotional hesitation. This is the kind of decision that changes timelines. Listen carefully. They have reached a moment where they can no longer pretend their feelings are temporary. What once felt distant to them now feels real. Powerful. Unavoidable. Your presence entered their life in a way they never expected, and ever since then, something inside them has refused to return to who they used to be. But here is the part nobody around them understands. The closer they feel to you emotionally, the more afraid they become of making the wrong move. Pause here for a moment. Have you noticed how strange the energy has been recently? One day it feels like they are moving closer, the next day it feels like they disappear into their thoughts again. That inconsistency is not random. It is connected to the pressure building inside them right now. Because they are asking themselves questions they cannot ignore anymore. What if this connection is real? What if this person is meant to stay in my life? What if I lose them because I waited too long? And perhaps the most powerful question of all. What kind of future would we actually create together? That question has changed everything. You see, before meeting you, they were comfortable staying emotionally guarded. Detached. Careful. But now they are imagining things they never allowed themselves to imagine before. A future. A partnership. Stability. Peace. Even the small ordinary moments suddenly matter to them now. And that realization has shaken them deeply. Not because they doubt you. Because they doubt whether they are fully ready for the life they secretly want with you. Stay a little longer, because this next part matters more than you think. There are outside voices surrounding them right now. Expectations. Responsibilities. Fear of disappointing certain people. Old beliefs telling them to play safe instead of following what their heart keeps trying to reveal. Yet every time they try to ignore this connection, something pulls them back toward you again. A memory. A feeling. A sentence you once said. Even your energy alone lingers in their mind longer than they admit. And lately, the signs around them have become impossible to ignore. Songs suddenly remind them of you. Random moments bring your name into conversations. Certain dreams feel almost too real. Even silence has started carrying your presence. This is why their decision feels so heavy. Because once they choose this path fully, there is no returning to the version of themselves that existed before you. And they know it. But wait, there is something even deeper happening beneath all of this. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that this decision is not only about love. It is about transformation. You came into their life carrying an energy that exposed what they truly wanted, not what the world told them to chase, not what others expected from them, but what genuinely makes them feel alive. That discovery can feel overwhelming for someone who spent years suppressing their emotions. So if you have felt distance lately, do not mistake it for absence. Sometimes people go quiet when their soul is trying to make a life-changing choice. And right now, they are standing at that exact crossroads. One path keeps everything familiar but emotionally empty. The other path leads toward you, and toward a future they secretly cannot stop imagining. You might miss the turning point if you stop listening now. Because the truth is, they are closer to clarity than they have ever been before. Even though fear still speaks loudly inside them, another voice has started becoming stronger. The voice that says, "This connection happened for a reason." And once that voice becomes impossible to silence, everything begins to move differently. Not suddenly. Not recklessly. But inevitably. The next phase of this story is already beginning behind the scenes, even if neither of you can fully see it yet. Because while they are struggling with this decision, their heart has already started leaning toward the future where you exist beside them. And soon, something unexpected will force those hidden feelings closer to the surface than ever before. There is something your soulmate has not confessed to anyone yet, and the silence around it is becoming impossible for them to carry alone. They keep replaying a future in their mind that includes you. Not casually. Not for a passing moment. Over and over again. And what makes this even more intense is that they were never supposed to feel this deeply. At least, that is what they once believed. They convinced themselves that life was easier when emotions stayed controlled, when relationships stayed predictable, when nobody had the power to truly affect their inner world. Then you appeared. And somehow, without forcing anything, you disrupted every emotional wall they spent years building. Now listen carefully, because this is where the story begins to shift. Recently, something happened around them that forced them to see time differently. Maybe it was watching someone lose an important connection. Maybe it was seeing how quickly life changes. Maybe it was simply waking up one morning realizing they are tired of pretending they do not care. But whatever triggered it, it shook them awake emotionally. For the first time in a long time, they stopped asking themselves, "Is this safe?" and started asking, "Will I regret staying silent?" That question has been echoing through them day and night. Because deep inside, they already know this connection is rare. They feel it when your name crosses their mind unexpectedly. They feel it during ordinary moments that suddenly become emotional for no clear reason. They feel it when they try distracting themselves but somehow return to thoughts of you again. And the truth is, this decision is no longer only about love. It is about courage. Because choosing you means choosing honesty. Choosing vulnerability. Choosing a future that cannot be controlled perfectly. That terrifies them sometimes. Not because they think you will hurt them, but because they understand you could change their life completely. Pause here for a moment and think about this carefully. What if the delays were never rejection? What if this entire period was preparing both of you emotionally for something bigger than either of you expected? Your soulmate has been trying to calculate every possible outcome. They want certainty before moving forward. They want guarantees that the future will unfold perfectly. But life does not work that way. And slowly, they are beginning to understand that some connections are meant to be trusted before they are fully understood. That realization is softening something inside them. Recently, they have started imagining details they never spoke aloud before. What conversations would feel like late at night? What peace might feel like beside you. What it would mean to finally stop hiding their emotions. What it would look like to build something meaningful instead of temporary. These thoughts are becoming more frequent now. More emotional. More real. And here is the part nobody else notices. Even when they appear calm on the outside, internally they are constantly comparing every path in life against the feeling they experience with you. Most things no longer feel as meaningful as they once did. That is why this decision has become so difficult. Because once someone experiences a connection that touches their soul deeply, ordinary distractions stop satisfying them the same way. Stay with this message a little longer, because the next truth may explain everything you have been sensing lately. There are moments when your soulmate almost reaches out emotionally, then suddenly pulls back. Not because the feelings disappeared. Because the intensity surprises even them. They are afraid of making promises too early. Afraid of moving too slowly. Afraid of misunderstanding destiny itself. Yet despite all these fears, they continue moving emotionally in your direction. Little by little. Thought by thought. Heartbeat by heartbeat. And lately, they have started noticing signs that seem impossible to ignore. Strange timing. Repeating patterns. Unexpected reminders of you appearing when they least expect it. At first they dismissed these moments. Now they quietly wonder if the universe is trying to guide them towards something they can no longer avoid. Before you go, hear this carefully. Your soulmate's biggest struggle is not whether they feel something for you anymore. That part is already clear. Their real struggle is deciding whether they are finally ready to let this connection transform their entire future. And very soon, something will happen that forces them to stop standing between fear and destiny forever. If this message found you at the perfect moment, leave your thoughts below, because sometimes the right words reach the right soul exactly when they are needed most. And if this journey has been speaking to your heart, stay connected for what comes next, because the story unfolding between you is far from over. Something has changed in your soulmate recently, and even they can no longer deny it. For a long time, they believed they still had time to delay this decision. Time to think. Time to avoid confronting the depth of this connection. Time to convince themselves that emotions eventually fade if ignored long enough. But now? Now the silence feels louder than ever. Because every path they imagine somehow leads back to you again. And that realization has started affecting them in ways nobody around them fully understands. Listen closely, because this next part carries the energy of a turning point. Your soulmate has begun noticing how different life feels when they imagine you absent from it completely. The thought unsettles them more than they expected. What once seemed like an emotional possibility now feels almost unbearable to picture. That feeling caught them off guard. Not long ago, they tried distracting themselves with responsibilities, routines, and everyday noise. They told themselves they were being practical, logical, careful. But the heart does not always obey logic forever. Especially when the connection keeps growing stronger beneath the surface. And lately, they have started seeing the truth clearly. The future they truly want keeps pulling them toward you. Not because everything would suddenly become perfect, but because something about your energy feels honest to them in a world that often feels emotionally disconnected. You brought them a feeling they cannot recreate anywhere else. Peace mixed with intensity. Comfort mixed with mystery. A strange sense that life becomes more meaningful when you are part of it. And that feeling has become impossible for them to replace. Wait till the final moment, because what they are realizing now changes everything. There is another reason this decision has become so emotionally heavy for them. They are starting to understand that choosing you may require leaving behind an old version of themselves. The version that stayed emotionally unavailable. The version that hid behind excuses. The version that settled for connections that never truly touched their soul. You awakened something deeper. And awakening changes people permanently. At first, they resisted it. But resistance becomes exhausting when the heart keeps returning to the same person no matter how much time passes. Your soulmate has entered a phase where they are quietly observing everything more carefully now. Your words. Your energy. Even the way you carry yourself through difficult moments. And what surprises them most is this. The more they learn emotionally about you, the more serious this decision becomes in their mind. Because they are no longer thinking about temporary emotions. They are thinking about permanence. About loyalty. About trust. About whether this connection could actually survive the realities of life and become something lasting. That thought both inspires and terrifies them. Because deep down, they know this is not an ordinary bond anymore. Stay here for one more moment. Have you felt the emotional tension increasing lately without fully understanding why? That invisible pull. That strange feeling that something important is approaching? There is a reason for that. Your soulmate is reaching the edge of emotional clarity. The confusion that once controlled them is beginning to fade. Slowly, they are separating fear from truth. And every time they do, your presence becomes clearer in their future. Even the smallest things have started affecting them now. A random memory of your voice. A moment that reminds them of your energy. A quiet night where their thoughts drift toward you without warning. These moments no longer feel accidental to them. They feel meaningful. And here is what they have not admitted aloud yet. Part of them already knows the decision they want to make. They are simply gathering the courage to fully step into it. Because choosing this connection means risking vulnerability in a way they never have before. It means allowing someone to truly matter. Truly stay. Truly influence their future. That level of emotional honesty changes a person forever. And despite all the hesitation, despite all the overthinking, despite every fear still whispering inside them, their heart keeps moving toward you anyway. Slowly. Quietly. But with growing certainty. You will understand everything at the end of this journey. Because soon, the distance between hidden feelings and real action will begin collapsing faster than either of you expected. A conversation, a realization, or an unexpected moment is approaching, and when it arrives, your soulmate may finally stop fighting the future they secretly want with you. There is a moment approaching that your soulmate has tried to postpone for longer than anyone realizes. A moment where they will no longer be able to hide behind uncertainty. And strangely enough, they can already feel it coming. That is why their energy has felt different lately. More intense. More emotional. More distracted at unexpected times. They are standing between two versions of their future right now, and somewhere deep inside, they know only one of those futures feels truly alive. The strange part? The future that scares them the most is also the one that feels the most real. Pause here and absorb that carefully. Because this connection has reached a stage where avoidance is becoming more painful than honesty. Your soulmate has spent so much time trying to understand why you affect them this deeply. They have analyzed every emotion, questioned every sign, replayed countless moments in their mind searching for certainty. But love does not always arrive as certainty first. Sometimes it arrives as a feeling so undeniable that it slowly reshapes your entire life before you even understand what is happening. That is exactly what has been happening to them. And now they are beginning to notice something impossible to ignore. Every time they imagine walking away from this connection completely, something inside them feels incomplete. Not dramatic. Not chaotic. Just deeply wrong. As if life would continue moving forward, but without the meaning they secretly hope to find. That realization has changed the way they see you. You are no longer just someone important to them emotionally. You have become connected to the future they quietly dream about when nobody else is listening. A future filled with peace instead of confusion. A future where they no longer have to hide how they truly feel. A future where they stop running from emotional depth and finally allow themselves to experience it fully. And that dream is becoming harder for them to suppress. Stay a little longer, because this next truth explains why everything may suddenly begin shifting soon. Your soulmate is reaching emotional exhaustion from fighting themselves. The overthinking. The hesitation. The constant attempt to stay emotionally safe. It has drained them more than they admit. Because protecting the heart sounds easier than risking vulnerability, until the heart starts longing for something real enough that safety no longer feels satisfying. That is where they are now. And recently, they have started noticing how much your energy inspires change inside them. You make them want to become more honest, more open, more intentional with their life choices. That kind of connection is rare. It does not appear every day. It does not happen with everyone. And deep down, they know it. Which is why the decision they are struggling with is no longer, do I feel something? That answer already exists. The real question has become, am I finally ready to stop resisting what my heart already knows? And the answer to that question is getting closer every single day. Before you go further, remember this. Not all delays mean rejection. Sometimes destiny moves slowly because two people are being prepared emotionally at the same time. Sometimes clarity takes longer when the future attached to a connection is powerful enough to change both lives forever. Your soulmate has needed time to understand the weight of what they feel for you. But now they are beginning to fear losing the opportunity more than they fear vulnerability itself. That changes everything. Because once someone reaches that emotional point, action becomes inevitable eventually. Even now, they are imagining conversations they wish they could have with you. Imagining honesty replacing silence. Imagining what it would feel like to stop holding back and finally allow this connection to unfold naturally. And every time they picture that future, something inside them feels lighter. More peaceful. More certain. If this message resonates deeply with you, Share your thoughts below and stay connected to this journey, because sometimes the most important chapters begin quietly before they change everything. And trust this carefully. Your soulmate is closer than ever to making the decision that once terrified them most, choosing a future where you are no longer just a possibility in their heart, but a real part of their life. Something unexpected is happening inside your soulmate now. The fear that once controlled their decisions is slowly losing its power. Not all at once. Not dramatically. But quietly, day by day, thought by thought. And the reason this shift matters so much is because they are finally beginning to understand what this connection truly means to them. For a long time, they believed they could keep their emotions organized. Hidden. Contained. They thought they could continue living as if these feelings would eventually fade into the background like every temporary emotion before. But you were never temporary to them. That is the truth they can no longer escape. And recently, this realization has started reaching them in the most unexpected moments. A quiet drive. A late-night thought. A random pause during a busy day. Suddenly your presence enters their mind, and everything around them feels strangely still for a moment. Almost as if life itself is asking them to pay attention. Because deep inside, they already know something important. You did not enter their life by accident. Wait here for a moment, because the next part may explain the emotional tension you have been sensing all along. Your soulmate has finally started confronting the real source of their hesitation. It was never truly about timing. Never truly about circumstances. Never even about uncertainty surrounding you. It was about whether they believed they deserved a connection this meaningful. That is the hidden struggle they rarely show anyone. You awakened emotions they buried long ago: hope, vulnerability, emotional honesty, the desire for something lasting instead of temporary distractions. And while part of them longs for that deeply, another part fears losing it once it becomes real. People often protect themselves most when they care the deepest. That is why this decision has felt so overwhelming for them. Because once they step fully toward you emotionally, they know their life will never feel emotionally empty in the same way again. And strangely enough, that possibility both excites and terrifies them at the same time. But listen carefully now. Something inside them is changing faster than before. The walls they built are becoming harder to maintain. The emotional distance no longer feels natural. Even the silence between you carries too much meaning now. And your soulmate has begun realizing that every attempt to move away emotionally only brings them back to you again with stronger clarity. That realization is impossible to ignore forever. Especially when the heart starts imagining permanence. Not just moments. Not just attraction. A real future. A future where they no longer have to wonder, what if? You might miss the deeper meaning if you stop listening now. Because the universe has been teaching them something through this entire experience. Some connections are not meant to be controlled logically. Some are meant to transform you. And transformation is exactly what this connection has been doing behind the scenes. Your soulmate sees the difference now between ordinary attention and genuine emotional alignment. Around most people, they can remain guarded, distracted, detached. But with you, something softer emerges naturally. Something honest. That honesty has become impossible for them to replace anywhere else. Which is why the decision they feared most is beginning to feel less frightening than the idea of losing this connection completely. And once someone reaches that emotional threshold, everything starts changing rapidly afterward. The signs are already appearing. Their thoughts returning to you more often. Their emotional defenses weakening. Their future becoming harder to imagine without your presence in it. Even their intuition has started whispering the same message repeatedly. This person matters. And soon, they may finally stop treating that truth like something temporary. Before this message ends, hear this final part carefully. Your soulmate struggle was never because the connection lacked depth. It was because the connection carried so much depth that it forced them to confront parts of themselves they were not ready to face before. But now? Now they are becoming ready. Ready to stop hiding behind fear. Ready to stop delaying what their heart already understands. Ready to step closer to the future that keeps calling them back toward you again and again. And when that moment fully arrives, the shift between silence and truth may happen far quicker than either of you expected. Because sometimes destiny waits patiently. Until both hearts finally stop running from what was meant to find them all along.